You have the narrative, you've got the team. I think there's a very good case that he wins MVP. Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another episode of NBA Now. I'm your boy Dom, and we're gonna get right in things here today. So, today, first off, obviously this is my first video with some 2K22 gameplay in the background. If you guys want me to change the camera angle for future videos, let me know. Wasn't really sure how I felt about this 2K cam. I might try the 2K low. We'll probably mess with things for a few videos. But if you want to see that change, just let me know in the comments down below. But with that said, today, we are going to be talking about Kevin Durant. So, Kevin Durant is one of my favorite players, pretty much to ever play the game of basketball. And to preface that statement, I do want to say I did think the Golden State move was weak. And it made it a little bit difficult for me liking Kevin Durant and Curry, but not being a Warriors fan. So, you know, I wanted to see them win, but at the same time, I was like, that's a fucking stacked roster that is just a little bit much, right? So, yeah, that's just, it's very foggy how I feel about and felt about that. But Kevin Durant is one of my favorite players of all time. I have a replica Seattle Supersonics jersey of his that, you know, one day if I am able to get that signed would be super cool. But yeah, we're gonna be talking about him, not for why I have a fucking jersey, but for the fact that this man is a basketball player, right? You know, an arguable top 10 player of all time, and I think that he has a very, very good shot at winning the most valuable player this next season. I think we look at what he did in the playoffs this last season, obviously pretty much being a shoe size away from the NBA, from another ring, I would say. I think that the Nets would have probably beat the Suns in 5, especially, you know, if injuries kind of cleared up there, which, you know, we don't exactly know what would have happened, but my bet would have been on the Nets had they made the NBA Finals. And a lot of that comes down to Kevin Durant, right? This is a guy that we know is 7 foot, can score from anywhere on the floor, whether that be the three-point line, whether that be in the paint, whether that be in the mid-range. It does not matter. This is, I mean, he is a lethal shooter. He is a great dunker. He's an all-around player, right? And we even look, if you look back to those Golden State days, he improved tremendously as a defender. Hasn't, you know, been as much of a defender since leaving Golden State. Obviously, a lot of that's due to his injury, because I would have said that he was a, you know, higher level defender. And now I'd say, you know, he almost felt as somewhat of a secondary, like, he was very great at getting, you know, help defensive blocks and that type of thing. With Golden State, hasn't done quite as much of that outside of Golden State, but is still a pretty damn good defender. And, you know, his injury, it hasn't seemed to affect him. I think every time he falls, anybody that likes him, or at this point is a Nets fan — I'm not a Nets fan, I'm a Nuggets fan — but anybody that, you know, has stock in him or whatever, winces when he falls at this point in time, just because of that freak injury. Although when you look back at it, it was really just, you know, he fell the wrong way, and it was a super freak injury. So, you know, all I can do is hope that he doesn't have that happen in the future. But why he has a super good shot at winning MVP is because the Nets are going to be a good team next year, right? Arguably they got better, arguably they got worse. Really depends your opinion on some different players. I think their biggest loss was Landry Shamet. Although they didn't use him as much as, and nobody's really used him as much as Philly, his rookie season. Or probably needed him as much as Philly his rookie season. Although I think that's probably their biggest loss, and the pickup of Jahlil Okafor is kind of weird to me. Honestly, I would buy him out, or like make him go to the G League or something. Just He's not meant for the modern NBA, and especially not for this roster, I don't think. But yeah, you move on from DeAndre Jordan, and in doing so, you're able to bring in Patty Mills to be a super solid backup point guard. You were able to bring back Bruce Brown, who really showed that he can be, a defensive, a real defensive guy, like a defensive team guy, like all NBA defensive team type thing. Javon Carter as, another, kind of just insurance policy at that point guard position. Not a bad guy. He's going to hustle. He's going to do his thing. Sekou, I guess, has some potential left in him. I think the idea of him, I'm going to steal this from Through the Wire, and I want to say King of the Fourth Quarter said this. I cannot remember. I watched this podcast a couple days ago. But the idea of Sekou is is better than Sekou himself, I think, which I think was a great quote and, pretty solid analysis of the situation. You also bring in a rookie in Day'Ron Sharpe, though, who hopefully at that center position can kind of do something for you. Nick Claxton could develop into, some people are saying he might be the next Bam, right? This is a guy that's got some defensive potential, and started to really kind of unlock that last year. And, I think the coolest, you're able to, first off, you're able to get back Blake Griffin and then bring in a couple role players in DeAndre Bembry and James Johnson. But I think the coolest thing, too, about this roster this offseason was the fact that LaMarcus Aldridge got a chance to play basketball again. Obviously I want him to take it slow, especially with that being heart problems that had pulled him out of the game. But, he's been cleared, and let's just hope that he can play this full season with the Nets. And he doesn't even have to produce that much. I just think it's awesome that, he was able to come back to the league after, getting healthy, and, let's just hope that he stays that way. So shout out to LaMarcus Aldridge for, I don't know if he put in the work or just, took care of his body a little bit more, but, he's back in the league, and, he's a guy that, wants a ring, and who knows, maybe if things had gone different for Portland, he could have gotten one there, but obviously injuries riddled that team with Greg Oden and Brandon Roy, specifically those two. But yeah, Kevin Durant. This is a team that is going to be, I think, undoubtedly a top 4 team in the in the Eastern Conference, excuse me. And typically that's like the base requirement for an MVP. I believe that OKC was the 4 seed when Russell Westbrook won it. But other than that, you pretty much have to be a top 3 seed, and typically it's a top 2 seed. I know Jokic just last year won it as the 3rd seed. But I would say probably 85% of the time or so, and that's just a guess off the top of the head. That's not an exact stat, but I would say about 85% of the time the MVP is coming from a top team or a top 2 team in a conference with a good narrative. And I think the narrative for Kevin Durant is going to work in his favor because, okay, you brought in these 3 players, right? And I think one of those things is like, we don't want to give an MVP to a super team, but if LeBron is going to be in MVP conversations this next season, I think that undoubtedly Kevin Durant deserves to be as well, because they both have 3 all-star at least level players on their team in Westbrook, Durant, and Harden, and then in LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Westbrook. And I accidentally said Westbrook for the Nets. I meant Kyrie Irving. But yeah, both teams are pretty much at the same level of that. And if LeBron or Anthony Davis or even Russell Westbrook, if he averages another triple-double, which more than likely the guy will, he's insane at that. And really, to be honest, he's probably taking granted for it, just for the fact of how much he's done it. But I mean, if one of those guys on the Lakers can be in an MVP conversation, which I think most likely they will be, at least, ESPN's always going to push for LeBron to be up there, which makes sense. He's one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest. It depends on your opinion. I am not going to give my opinion today on that. If you guys want a video on that, let me know. But, I think Durant definitely, in that circumstance, deserves to be up there. And this Nets team, although getting a little bit older, I think is going to be a super good regular season team, because even if you're resting 2 of your star players at a time, you can rest 2 of your star players every single game, and you still have the potential to have the best player on the court, which is insane, right? And you have good depth. So not only is it you have the potential to have the best player on the court every night, you also have really good depth, which can help you throughout the regular season. So this team has a very good shot at being the #1 seed. And if you're the #1 seed and you look at Kevin Durant, who, let me build the narrative for you, right? Gets injured in Golden State in the finals, was going to win another ring. He gets injured. They don't win the ring. He moves on. He goes to Brooklyn. He doesn't play his first year because of how severe his injury was. He comes in, first year in Brooklyn, almost makes the NBA Finals, really comes down just to his foot, goes toe-to-toe with Giannis, playing the full games, and then the next season they're the #1 seed, and he's averaging, say, 28 points per game, re-ups his average from, I think 26 this last season. I want to say he had like 26 this last season. I can double-check that real quick, though. But re-ups his average back to like 28 to 30. Yeah, this last season he had 26.9, 7, and 5. And that's rebounds and then assists. Along with 1.3 blocks per game and 0.7 steals per game. So, he revitalizes his career. He goes toe-to-toe with Giannis. He tries to make the NBA Finals. He almost makes the NBA Finals. And then the next year he comes out and he's the #1 seed. There's a very good case for MVP right there. I think the only guys that can compete with that are, first off, Luka, second off, LeBron, and probably some sort of dark horse, maybe a Giannis. He wins the championship. He's proved that he's a winner and goes out and gets that. They all kind of have narratives for them. I don't think that James Harden will be able to win an MVP next to Kevin Durant, but I think Kevin Durant can win one next to James Harden because, although they're both all-time great players and, top 5 in their positions respectively, Kevin Durant is a different monster. I mean, he's named the Durantula and Slenderman for a reason, right? He's got these super specific nicknames, like Durantula. Does that sound like something that you would want to encounter in the wild? A Durantula? Motherfucker, I'm scared of a tarantula. Imagine a Durantula, bro. 7-foot fucking spider? Or just a 7-foot lethal shooter. Either way, I'm not trying to encounter either of that. Fucking on the basketball court or in wildlife. Like, he has earned where he's gotten to. And it's been so long that since his MVP, that, I feel like some people forget that he has an MVP. And although it's kind of hard to forget because, obviously, you're the real MVP. But, yeah, I think that he's got a super good case for it. He's got the narrative. He's going to have the team. As long as he can come through, put the stats, and get himself 1 or 2, like, spectacular games, that you just remember throughout the season. Like, oh, this was Kevin Durant's 50-point game on the Los Angeles Lakers. And then he put up 48 against the 2-seeded Milwaukee Bucks and beat them in overtime or some shit like that. Where you get, like, 2 solid games, you have the narrative, you've got the team. I think there's a very good case that he wins MVP, and you definitely have the talent to do it. So, yeah, this was you could call this a little bit of Durant deriding. I would not call it that, but I can understand how you might say that. I was just coming through, giving some love to my favorite player and letting you guys know who I think, somebody that I think has a very good shot at winning MVP this upcoming season. Let me know who you think is going to win MVP this season. Where do you think the Brooklyn Nets are going to finish over in the East? And do you think we're getting a Nets and Lakers finals? Let me know down below in the comments. Make sure you guys, if you guys enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe for more. It has been your boy Dom from NBA Now, and that's going to be a wrap on today's video. So have a good rest of your day, everybody.